Ready or not, summer is coming, and Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance is on now. Right now through May 25th, get up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Plus, score amazing doorbuster deals all sale long and surprise flash deals on Memorial Day. We're talking thousands of products at every style and budget. Now is the time to save big on must-haves for your patio, backyard, and beyond. These savings won't last, so don't wait. Shop Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance now through May 25th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hey listeners, this is Peter and welcome back to the History Shorts. Today's episode is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the world. Download Podcast Republic today, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Today on History Shorts. In 2004, the United States presidential election came down to two candidates: George W. Bush, the incumbent Republican president, John Kerry, the Democratic challenger. Both men had attended Yale University, and both men had been members of the same secret society. Both men, when asked about it during the campaign, gave almost identical answers. Bush said, "It's so secret, I cannot talk about it." Kerry said, "Not much, because it's a secret." The society, of course, was Skull and Bones. And the fact that both major party candidates for the most powerful office on earth belonged to the same 172-year-old Yale secret society was treated by most of the American press as a mildly amusing footnote. But it was not a footnote. Our history brief today returns to the History Shorts Conversation Series Vault and a chat with award-winning historian Moody Al-Rashid. A quick word from our sponsors.
This week on Point Game with me, CJ Toledano, and Isaiah Thomas, IT reacts to the Celtics losing Game 7 to the Sixers. Take a listen.
You know what really the difference was? Joel Embiid. Like, that was tough. Like,
and who expected that?
Exactly. And they probably going into preparing for the Sixers, you didn't think Embiid was going to play. And then when he did play, you probably didn't think he was going to give you what he gave the Sixers. So it was tough. Like, you're up 3-1, you got to win that. Like, no, there's no ands, if, buts, or about it. You're up 3-1, you got to find a way to win one more game to move on to the next round.
This has been brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Point Game with Isaiah Thomas and CJ Toledano releases new episodes every Tuesday on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code POINTGAME to claim your profit boost. That's code POINTGAME to get a boost every day of the NBA playoffs. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois, 21 plus in most states, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
This day in history. On May 13, 1846, the United States Congress declared war on Mexico, beginning the Mexican-American War, a conflict that would dramatically reshape the map of North America. On May 13, 1981, Pope John Paul II survived an assassination attempt in St. Peter's Square, an event that stunned the world and defined much of his later papacy. Story of the day. Skull and Bones was founded at Yale University in 1832 by a student named William Huntington Russell. The circumstances of its founding are themselves revealing. Russell had just returned from a year in Germany, where he had encountered the culture of elite German student fraternities. Secretive, ritualistic, intensely bonded organizations that produced lifelong loyalties among their members. He had also, according to the most commonly cited account, been passed over for membership in the prestigious Phi Beta Kappa Academic Honor Society, which was at the time operating as something of a secret society itself. Russell's response was to found something better. He and his co-founder, Alfonso Taft, whose son William Howard Taft would become the 27th President of the United States and a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, established what they called the Brotherhood of Death. It was later simply known as the Order. Outsiders, however, called it Skull and Bones. The Society's home on the Yale campus is a windowless brownstone building on High Street, known as the Tomb. It was constructed in 1856 and has barely changed since. It has no windows visible from the street. It has no sign, no nameplate, no external indication of what it is or who uses it. Each year, 15 Yale juniors are tapped for membership, selected by the outgoing senior class in a process whose criteria have never been publicly explained. The tapping ceremony itself has been described by former members as deliberately theatrical, approaching the selected student, placing a hand on their shoulder, and asking a single question: Skull and Bones, do you accept? Inside the tomb, new members are introduced to rituals that former members have described in varying degrees of detail over the years. The initiation reportedly involves lying in a coffin and recounting one's sexual history to the assembled membership, an exercise in radical vulnerability designed to create bonds of mutual exposure that tie members to each other permanently. There are alleged to be human skulls and bones on the premises, whether genuine or symbolic, while those accounts differ. There is a room known as the Inner Temple. There is an island retreat in St. Lawrence River called Deer Island where members gather. The details are, all by design, unverifiable. What is not unverifiable is who came out of that building. The membership roll of Skull and Bones reads like a compressed history of American elite power. Presidents William Howard Taft, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, senators, cabinet secretaries, and Supreme Court justices in numbers disproportionate to any comparable institution. There's also CIA directors. The Society has produced an extraordinary concentration of intelligence community leadership, including figures central to the agency's founding and early operations. Henry Stimson, Secretary of War under both William Howard Taft and Franklin Roosevelt, and the man who oversaw the Manhattan Project and recommended the use of the atomic bombs against Japan. He was a bonesman. McGeorge Bundy, National Security Advisor to both Kennedy and Johnson, one of the chief architects of American involvement in Vietnam, was also a bonesman. Averell Harriman, diplomat, governor, and one of the most influential figures in 20th century American foreign policy, was a bonesman. Averell Harriman's class of 1913 alone included members who would go on to shape American foreign policy for the next 50 years. The pattern is very consistent across generations. A disproportionate number of the people who made the most consequential decisions in 20th century American public life passed through that windowless building on High Street. The conspiracy theories about Skull and Bones are, at this point, extensive but familiar. The Society has been accused of everything from orchestrating the Kennedy assassination to controlling the global drug trade to serving as the recruitment pipeline for a secret global government. The honest assessment is that most of these claims are not supported by any credible evidence. What is supported by evidence is something that requires no conspiracy theory to be extraordinary. Skull and Bones is a private organization that selects 15 people per year from a single university and has, over nearly 2 centuries, produced an astonishing concentration of American power. It did not do this by accident. It did it through the deliberate cultivation of loyalty, the strategic placement of members in positions of influence, and the activation of these networks across decades. And that part is not a conspiracy. That is an old boys network operating with unusual discipline and unusual success. The difference matters because the reality is, in its own way, more troubling than the fantasy. A secret society controlling world events from the shadows is alarming, but abstract. A tight knit group of people who went to the same university, joined the same organization, and then spend the rest of their lives quietly prioritizing each other for jobs, appointments, and influence, well, that is not abstract at all. It is simply how elite power has always reproduced itself. Skull and Bones just did it more deliberately than most. The society admitted women for the first time in 1991, a change that produced a legal challenge from older male members and a public dispute that briefly illuminated, for anyone paying attention, exactly how seriously the institution took its own traditions. It continues to tap 15 members per year, and it continues to meet in a tomb on High Street. The History Brief. The following conversation with Moody Al Rashid, an award winning historian, can be found in its entirety in the back catalog of the History Shorts podcast, wherever you're listening to this show.
What I find so incredible about writing in ancient Mesopotamia is that it documents over 3,000 years of history. That's over half of our kind of written history. And they wrote everything down. I mean, literally lists of kings, really private letters, medical texts describing all sorts of graphic issues that someone might suffer from, little kids doing their homework assignments. So I would say that one way I think that writing shaped the development of that history is that it enabled people to tell their own stories and for those stories to survive. One era that they were particularly interested in was the era before writing. So these scribes and scholars from, let's say, 2900-ish BCE until 100 CE is when the latest tablet is from, had at their disposal hundreds, if not thousands, of records from earlier eras. And those records could take the form of anything from receipts to the royal inscriptions of kings, topics as vast as medical issues to astronomical observations. So they were very much aware that there was this history around them, but they were really interested in the periods for which that was missing.
Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and helping make this little show such a mighty success. If you are enjoying this show and would like to help with its production, you can always donate a few dollars at buymeacoffee.com or become a Patreon member to enjoy these episodes ad-free. Both of those links can be found on our website at www.historyshortspodcast.com. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel where we have different series that are not part of this main feed. It is also a place you guys can watch the interviews that are part of the History Shorts conversation series, instead of just listening to them. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all again tomorrow.